What are you doing on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023? Because myself and Francesca Amber are coming to the Barbican Hall in London. Our event is called One Night Stand, and this one night event is all going to be about manifestation, crystal healing, and ridding your limiting beliefs to help you achieve your goals. We've curated an immersive experience that will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. Throughout the evening as well, we'll also have interactive exercises, we'll have empowering discussions, and the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals on a similar journey towards personal growth and manifestation. There'll even be an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. This event is your chance to break free from the shackles of self-doubt and unleash your inner greatness. It's time to release those limiting beliefs that might be holding you back and step into your true potential. And if you want to come on your own, by all means do that. Single tickets are available and seating is totally unreserved, so you can even meet up with your spiritual friends and sit with them as well. Head to @CannyCrystals on Instagram and click the link in my bio. Tickets are limited, so secure your spot and be part of this transformative experience. Don't miss out on the chance to manifest your dreams and achieve your goals. We can't wait to see you there. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. I hope that you're all well. This week I've got a super exciting episode for you because I've got another guest on the show. I'm on a roll now, I know how easy it is. So recently I appeared on her podcast, The Unbreakable Mindset, and I thought it was only fair that my listeners get to hear about her specialism and talk all things mindset and manifestation. So please give a very warm welcome to Jude Daunt. Hi Jude, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me, as much as it took us so long to get on.
Mercury retrograde. So Jude, just before we get started, would you just mind introducing yourself, telling everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do, just so we can get to know you and who you are?
Yes, so I am a mindset coach. I'm based in the Northeast, but work with clients all over the world. The name of my business is the Unbreakable Mindset Method. And then from that is the program that I work with on my clients to get their mindset primed and ready for anything that they want to achieve or anything that they're struggling with. And I also have an academy where students can join and become certified life coaches as well. And then I also have a manifestation course as well. So it's loads under my little Unbreakable Mindset banner.
I was going to say, I've got some questions for you later on about that as well, because I know we've just skimmed past it quickly there, but I do want to deep dive into some of that as well. But I guess, first of all, I just want to ask, how did spirituality all come about for you? Because you are quite a spiritual person, aren't you? You believe in the law of attraction, and you've got crystals on your desk when I come in to see you, and you sage your office because you think there was like ghosts and stuff in it. So how did spirituality all come about for you?
So raised a Catholic, not strict in a sense of, it wasn't forced on us or anything like that. Mum wasn't a Catholic, Dad was. Mum and Dad were separated. Dad used to take us to church every week. And I guess throughout my life, I think in terms of, I know spirituality and religion aren't necessarily the same, but they're definitely connected. It was having a belief in something, I think, that definitely helped me in tough times. That's not to say that I agree with everything in Catholicism, but I definitely take the good bits and leave what doesn't work for me. And I think what that then led me to was Buddhism. Sorry, I went totally off in my head. I started thinking about something else and then thinking, do I need to tell you that as well? And I thought, oh God, that could be like a whole 2-hour podcast if I go into that. Yeah, so I started to become interested in Buddhism because I think that definitely kind of takes away the bad bits of Catholicism and leaves all the good bits. And then how did I get into spirituality in terms of law of attraction? I think it was like a journey of self-development, I struggled a lot with depression, I struggled a lot with anxiety. And I think when you are in that mindset, that struggle, you look for answers in other things. So I read books and different like law of attraction books, and obviously some like it was probably like the Dummy's Guide to Buddhism or something like that I read. But different things that to try and help me better understand myself and the world around me. And that's definitely how I got into mindset and manifestation. Obviously started off with The Secret. I guess aside from that, in terms of spirits and believing that there's another life out there, I think two important people in my life who are now no longer with me definitely believed in the other side. And I always think that I've probably got somebody walking alongside me, like, you know, that lovely poem that's written where it says, where there's footprints in the sand and then there's only one set of footprints and it's because someone was carrying you. Like, oh God, I totally believe that. I believe that in my toughest times, that there's been somebody helping us along. That's maybe, God, I don't know if I've ever said that out loud. But yeah, definitely, I do believe that there's other things out there that we don't know about, we don't know enough about. But I genuinely believe that there is, there's something in spirituality, but there's also a comfort in it, 100%. And even if I got to the end of my life and somebody said it's not true, I don't think it would matter that much to us, if I'm honest, because I know what it's given us now by having the belief. It's enhanced my life by believing it. So yeah.
It's not like you've harmed anyone by thinking that. Yeah. And I obviously know about your story of depression, and you briefly touched on it there, about when you were depressed when you were younger and being diagnosed so early with that depression as well. And I know you've shared this before on your Instagram, but would you mind sharing that story here? Like, how did that diagnosis come about for you at such a young age?
Do you know what? Actually, I think it was too late, the diagnosis. I think I should have been diagnosed when I was 11, but I didn't get diagnosed till I was 15. And I think there's definitely a difference between being anxious and being depressed, and I know that. But what I would say is that if I think about each year being 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, if I think about there was periods of those years that were fine, but then there was also periods where it felt really dark. And I think there's a difference between being anxious and then having this really dark cloud over you and crying so much and you don't know why you're crying and not being able to control those emotions. I think you can be anxious and still control your emotions. But I was definitely out of control and nobody knew. I used to go, you know, I would go back and forward to the hospital because they were trying to determine what was wrong with us. And they thought, oh God, what was it they thought? I think they thought it was something to do with my bowels, like my tummy and my stomach. And I got like fiber gel and different meal plans that I had to eat, like shakes, you know, almost like Complan or something.
Like meal replacement.
Yeah, like I got stuff like that given to us. But the thing was that the reason why I wasn't eating is because I was anxious. And so therefore, if I tried to eat anything, I'd have this pain in my tummy, and it was just, and then I think they thought I was anorexic, and I think they thought I was getting bullied, but nobody actually, I didn't have the words to express it. You don't when you're 11, you know, even when I've seen teenagers who I've coached in my coaching practice, they don't have the words for it and they don't really know why they're anxious, and I think that was it. And I think my anxiety just got to a point where I couldn't cope and depression set in. So I had cycles of that. In terms of trauma, you know, there wasn't any trauma in those times. It was just depression and anxiety. The trauma came after that. So when I thought I was coming out of it and I met somebody and like it was like love's young dream, and I thought, wow, this is how it feels to like come out the other side of it and have someone with you, and it just felt amazing. But he was struggling with his mental health, and unfortunately he committed suicide. So then I just go back to being who I was before he was there, which was just this little, bless her, like anxious mess who couldn't really cope again with life, you know. And so that was a struggle again, and that kind of continued in my early 20s.
So do you think that's mainly what drew you to mindset work and coaching?
Yeah, definitely, because I'd had a lot of therapies that didn't work at that point. So whether it was bereavement, counselling, I was sent to see the priest at one point at school. That didn't help. Like so much. And, you know, talking therapies and stuff, just, you know, you can talk about it, but if there's no solutions, then you're just stuck. Like the only solution that I was really given was to be on antidepressants, and that only works to a point, because it only works to help you to feel like you can cope, but it's not giving you any long-term solutions. It's not giving you any long coping mechanisms. And I think when you are anxious and you are depressed, it's because you can't cope with life. Like life's controlling you. You're completely out of control. And then I tried everything else. And then because I was struggling so much, it then turned into an eating disorder. And I was like, oh God, this is just not how I thought my life would go. Like, we had depression in our family. It was like something you would get like a cold, you know, like it wasn't a big deal. Like it really wasn't. But an eating disorder was actually, it wasn't something we could talk about. I think I only told my mum, and she didn't know how to deal with it. So she was a bit like, she wouldn't ask us where my depression, she would say, "E pet, how are you today? Are you all right? Come on, do you want to talk?" But when my eating disorder came up, it was almost like, not shameful. I don't think she was ashamed of us. I just don't think she'd never been through it, so she couldn't cope with it really. So, and she worked at a doctor's. Yeah, she couldn't give us any advice. She worked at a doctor's, and they didn't, you know, there was like a leaflet on anorexia, but I wasn't anorexic. I was bulimic, so it was different. But I'll tell you one thing that I knew is that I didn't want it to continue. I didn't want to feel that out of control, that I was making myself sick. I knew I was so out of control, and it wasn't something that, you know, I think when other people have eating disorders, it's a form of control because it's the thing they can control. If anything, I knew I was really bloody out of control, and it scared us how far I'd gotten. So I would talk to anyone about it, like, and because I wanted answers. I wanted somebody to kind of go, "Oh my God, go and see this person," or, "Oh, actually, you should do this." And thankfully one person did. She was like, "Oh, such and such at work, seeing a life coach. Why don't you try that?" And I got in touch with a coach, and thankfully Jane Payne, she was called. She doesn't do it anymore. A big shout out to her. I rang her and I was like, "Look, this is what's going on." And she was like, "I've not dealt with anyone who's had an eating disorder before, but let's give it a go, because I don't think that's what's wrong with you. I think that's just an outcome of," and she was right, you know, it wasn't what was wrong with us. You know, if we go back, it wasn't the losing somebody to suicide. It wasn't, you know, feeling like an imposter in my job. It wasn't the eating disorder. It was how I felt about myself and the world from an early age that then made me feel like I couldn't cope. So I found a coach when I was really young. So I was really, really lucky, I think, because God, some people don't have solutions until a lot later in life. So I was really, really young. I was only 24, and from that moment everything changed. Like I felt like a different person, and I had coping mechanisms, and I started to look at the world differently. It genuinely was life-changing.
And I can imagine, like, obviously being a life coach yourself, it must be pretty draining on your energy too. I mean, it must be hard sitting in sessions and listening to everyone else's problems, but then trying your hardest, like, not to absorb that negative energy. So how do you protect yourself and ensure that you go into those sessions as shielded as you can? Does that take focus, or is that something that you've just learned to really deal with?
Do you know what? It's not even anything that, and I know people have said this to me before, like, "Oh God, like, you're so good, like, you must be so strong taking on everyone's problems." But it's not, it's a different, I guess as a coach, you approach it differently, because what I'm doing is I am not absorbing any of the pain the clients are going through. What I'm actually doing is I'm being solution focused in those sessions. So for me, anything that comes up in that session, instead of seeing it as, "Oh my God, that's a lot," it's like, wow, so this is the stuff that we need to get underneath. This is the stuff that we need to reprogram. This is the stuff we need to problem solve, you know, like I don't mind when stuff comes up in a session for somebody and they start like crying or anything like that, because at least I know we're getting to the deep stuff that we can work on in session together. It's never, ever draining, ever, because every session that starts like that will end uplifting for the other person. So that in turn uplifts me. Like, anyone who comes into my session crying will never leave crying, they'll leave. So I always do, sorry, I'll scooch back a bit. So when a client comes to see me, I'll always say on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? 10 being amazing, 0 being shit, basically. And see if they come into session and go, oh my God, like I've just had a really tough week. Like, honest to God, I feel like a 2. I guarantee you they'll go out of that session close to a 6 or a 7. Because of that, they've been able to offload it. We've been able to pull apart and like take off the layers of what's happened to get to the bottom of it so we can start to problem solve again.
Yeah. And I mean, even yesterday when I came for my session, I'll hold my hands up, that was like my first lot of tears that I had during my session. But by the end, I even text you apologizing. Like, I don't know why I apologized, but I just felt the need to apologize because I thought, oh my God, I've cried on her. But at the end of the day, I felt so much better. And I woke up today and I just felt like a new person, because I felt like I'd offloaded it all and I'd got it all out of my system and I'd worked through it. Mm-hmm. I've been working on forgiveness with all my limiting beliefs and things. And it was just like I'd got it out of my system. But yeah, it was really good. But anyway, looking back at the last, is it 9 or 10 years of you being a life coach, a mindset coach, a qualified psychotherapist? What's been that most standout moment where you've suddenly had like a spiritual awakening and realized that there's actually more to life? Was it something that happened in your childhood, or is it something that's happened like more recently, like in your coaching?
Ooh, good question. So a spiritual standout moment. Do you know the biggest moment for me was after I'd had my coaching, and I was about 32, 33, and I was starting to think about where I wanted my life to go after that. Right. So I always remember I was a single parent at this point, and it was New Year's Eve. Well, this is probably the best standout moment. And it was New Year's Eve, and I'd said to my friend, are you going to this ball? There was like the white ball or something like that. And I said, are you going? And she was like, oh no, we can't get a babysitter. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I said, oh, I'll tell you what, you go out and I'll babysit. Like, I don't mind. Like, I haven't got Sophia, but it's fine. Like, I wasn't that bothered about going out. And my friend's house is beautiful. It's like an 8-bedroom house with a swimming pool. Like, it's amazing. I remember sitting in her house babysitting. And bearing in mind, at this point, like, I had just separated from my daughter's dad. I was living in rented accommodation. Like, it wasn't the best time for me, if I'm honest, financially. Mentally, I was fine. And I started to think, do you know what? I want change. Like, I don't want to continue what I'm doing. And because it was New Year, and I think, you know, if there's any good time to start making changes, it's always that New Year point, isn't it? To go, right, this time next year, Rodders. And I was like, right, there's things that I want. And I wrote myself a list of things that I want. And I started to think back over. And then I started to plan forward. And I realised that, one, I wanted to do something different because I wanted to be able to decide what hours I worked. I wanted to be able to decide and choose how much I earned. I wanted to be in control of my finances. I wanted to be able to build a better future for my daughter. And there were so many things that I wanted. And I didn't want to, I knew she was 4 at this point, and I knew by the time she started secondary school, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing the current job that I was doing, because I was travelling all the time and working away, and I wanted to make a commitment to myself that by the time she started secondary school, I would be doing something that meant I was home for her. Like, I was never working away, and I'd be there to pick her up from school. And I'm smiling because I totally achieved that. Yeah, so that was one of my goals. But what I remember thinking was, well, what can I do? And I started to think back over the course of my life, and I thought, oh my God, like, I don't have depression anymore. Like, this is just... And I'd been through a lot. Like, it wasn't, you know, like, life had still thrown me, you know, crappy things, which it does. You know, life's not perfect just because you decide you want it to be, and you've got a different mindset. You're going to be thrown challenges. So I'd definitely been thrown challenges in that time, but my mindset was so much stronger because of the coaching. And I thought, oh my God, like if I could do that for someone else, and God, this sounds so like dramatic, but if I could save a life with it, like that was my biggest thing I could cry thinking about now. Like if I could save a life with it and not, you know, like if Stephen had had it, like who passed away, if he'd have had that, like he'd still be here now, like he would have been stronger in his mindset. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. Like I want to be able to give somebody what somebody gave to me. So that was definitely the turning point. That was the turning point where I was like, right, I'm going to do this. And then that year, so that was the January, and in the February, I'd started my diploma to become a life coach. Wow, I didn't think I was going to get up there and set there. Sorry.
No, don't worry. It just shows that you're real at the end of the day, isn't it? But yeah, so like obviously that's like you've manifested that completely. Like there's like that new life that you manifested. And I mean, I've spoke about like loads of manifestation and things, and I know that you're a massive manifester yourself and you believe in the law of attraction, like I said. And I know you've spoke on your podcast before even about manifesting your mortgage going through, and most recently your new Range Rover, which I'm super jealous about because mine's still on my cosmic shopping list. But what has been that moment for you when you've suddenly thought, there's no doubt about it, I did this? Would you say that it was that, or has there been something even bigger that you've manifested?
Honest to God, there's so many things. Right, let's give you a list of all the things that I've manifested.
Go for it.
Like things that I don't really have like almost control over. So by the time my daughter started secondary school, so the year before she started, so in the November, I went on maternity leave, had my little one, and then by the September of her starting big school, secondary school, she'll hate us if I call it big school, secondary school, I was doing my business full time. I was coaching full time. So I definitely manifested the timing of it. And obviously a lot of things had to happen for me to go full time with a business. It wasn't like, it's not like you could just snap your fingers and decide, you know, you've got to be financially stable enough to be able to do that. And we were, thankfully. When we were trying for a baby, I had put on images of, on my vision board, there was an image of, and I did 2 images because I really wanted it. Like I was so desperate for this to happen. And it was an image of a family that had an older girl, because my girl was like 10 when Nico was born, and a baby boy. And I put 2 of the same images on because I was desperate for a boy, right? And even throughout the pregnancy, right, my husband was convinced it was a girl, because we went in for a scan, and one of the scans, the midwife had said, oh, you can see she's got her arm pointing upwards or something like that. And bearing in mind, we didn't ask to find out. We didn't want to know. And I hadn't heard this, and we came out, and my husband looked like crestfallen, and I was like, are you all right? And he was like, she said it was a girl. I was like, no, she didn't. And he was like, she did. She said her arm's up there. And I was like, I didn't hear that. And to be fair to him, right, he wasn't devastated it was a girl. I think he was devastated that he'd found out. And it would almost kind of remove that excitement of like, oh, is it a boy or a girl? So imagine when I then give birth and the baby comes out and she says it's a boy. My husband cried tears. Cried real tears. So I'm pretty sure I manifested a boy. Of cars, every single car that I've put on my vision board has come into my manifestations. Even, and bearing in mind, I used to work for Top Man, and some of the cars that I was putting on my list, like for the level I was at, I probably, you know, shouldn't have had really if in any other company. Like if I'd been working for, I don't know, River Island or another high street retailer, like, you know, I had a lovely little Range Rover Evoque, was like my last car that I had from there, and I had convertibles and Mercedes, and yeah, I had some lush cars while I was working there, but I genuinely manifested them, like visualized the badge and everything. The house that I'm living in was on my vision board for ages, but it was above our price range, and we made it happen. What else? My office, like, was a huge manifestation. That at the time, it was just on my vision board that I wanted to have an office. And then the woman in the sales office where we lived was, she was horrible. She used to complain if I let my cat out and stuff, and she wouldn't, like, she was awful to everyone. She really was. She just wasn't a nice person. and she really felt like she was in charge of the courtyard. It was really weird. And she told the developers that I was working from home, and then they started saying like, you are going against the covenant of your lease, and we're going to tell your mortgage company, and you can't work from home, and you need to stop it. Which, bearing in mind, I've just started my business full time, and they're saying all this to us. So we got solicitors involved, and we like, they didn't have a leg to stand on, so I could have stayed. But what it forced me to do was look at the office that I'm in now, and I wouldn't have done that had that not have happened. Because to be honest with you, it was year one of doing my business full time, and now I'm taking on a lease. Like, I probably wouldn't have made that jump, but it was on my vision board, and it just, you've got to be careful what you put on your vision board because it'll come true. And it happened, and honest to God, it's the best thing that ever happened. I mean, you've been in my office. I love it. It's like the best space.
I know. I just love the aesthetics of it, and it's like so warm and calming.
Yeah.
And I think the second you walk in, you just feel at home, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think you've obviously done that on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Because it does make you feel at home and welcomed and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just so lush.
Yeah.
I didn't know about some of them things on your vision board as well, so that's interesting. So yeah, cool.
Loads.
Do you mind if we talk about limiting beliefs as well,
Yeah.
Jude? So I've spoke on here before and on your podcast actually about the limiting beliefs that I have. So I'm going to turn the tables on you now, because you're human at the end of the day. So what limiting beliefs did you have growing up, and how and when did you overcome them? Was there any outstanding limiting beliefs that you thought, oh my God, I'm never going to get rid of this?
Do you know what? Growing up, like, God, I was weighed down. It was like a backpack of limiting beliefs. There were so many. Like, you've got to bear in mind, in terms of what I thought about myself and what I thought about the world was so bleak. Like, so bleak, I can't even tell you. Like, I genuinely thought there's no point in passing my driving test because I won't be able to afford a car. And I thought, as long as I can work on a till, I think I'll be fine. Like, that, God love the 14-year-old me, because she didn't really have high expectations for herself. And then the next expectation she had on herself was, I'd quite like to do window dressing. I'd just like to dress a window, because I knew I was a bit creative. So I guess my limiting beliefs was everything. There was no empowering belief. Like, even, you know, my dad would kind of say, you know, if he introduced us, like, you know, if we bumped into someone, he'd say, hey, Tony, how are the girls? And he'd go, oh, you know, they're doing great. Andrea's doing so well at, you know, she does ever so well in her maths and in English, and our Jude, she's good at art. Like, I wasn't even good at art. Like, I knew I wasn't. So even the thing that people thought I was good at, like, I knew I wasn't, because I knew there was people better than me. So I had no empowering. No, actually, that's a lie. I had one empowering belief, which was that I could go anywhere and make friends with everyone. But I didn't know that was an empowering belief. I never had any limiting beliefs about friendships. I was really confident in that sense. Like, I could walk onto the school bus and sit anywhere. I wasn't frightened. Like, I could walk in any room and not be frightened. Like, you know, I hear kids now talk about, like, you know, and I had to go to this other room and hand this in, and I had to go in and I didn't know anyone in the room and it was awful. Like, that just would not have bothered me. So that I didn't have. But every other limiting belief you can think of, I had. So money limiting beliefs. I didn't believe I was smart. I genuinely believed that I wouldn't have more than what I had. Like, you name it, I had it. And I guess there was a lot of self-work done through my coaching, but a lot after my coaching. And if I was to say what I've got left, I think I still have a money mindset one, and I'm working on that, because I think I'd capped myself for so long at my old wage. Like, I genuinely thought my old wage was really good. Like, I was pretty proud of myself. But you've got to bear in mind, when I didn't have that much if I didn't have that much expectation for myself, like, this was amazing. Like, I was buzzing at what I was on in my old job. So then coming in to have my own business, I capped myself at kind of going, well, as long as I can earn what I was earning, I'll be happy. So now that I've like doubled that or even tripled that, it's like, you've got to, you know, with every new level of success, you've got to almost start to manage your mindset behind that. Like, if you're going up in the world, your mindset's got to match up to that. you know, we've definitely talked about that. You know, if your mindset doesn't match your reality, you know, like, I know, you know, yesterday, I hope you don't mind me saying this, you can totally cut it out if you do. But yesterday, one thing we talked about for you was, like, I was literally telling you about the person you are. And I was saying, you know, let's just talk about who you are as a business person. Let's talk about who you are as a friend. And you've created this life for yourself, but your mindset hasn't caught up to that yet. Your mindset still perceives a lot of other things in terms of your limiting beliefs, even though the reality is you've created X, Y, and Z. And I think sometimes it's like that can be out of alignment. And as much as we can, like, strive to achieve the stuff that's on our vision board and genuinely put ourselves in the outcome and make it happen, if we still don't believe that we deserve it or that we're worthy of it, we'll sabotage. So, like, January, for example, you know, I'm always honest about stuff like this. January, for example, I'd done amazing last year. And then January came and I'd paid off my tax bill and I'd paid off my car loan and I'd paid off my credit card. And I was like, debt-free, riding high. But what that meant is that I didn't have a buffer. So my mind went, oh my God, what happens if you don't earn any money this month? And I didn't. And it was like, oh. So as soon as that belief switched up,
you go into panic mode though, don't you? It was just like me last month.
Total panic.
Yeah. And I mean, there was something I was reading the other day. I was reading Get Rich Lucky Bitch for, God, the third or fourth time now, from Denise Duffield Thomas. And in there she mentions a quote which she calls new level, new devil. Ooh. So every time you get to that new level of money and earning like that energetic income, there's always the new devil creeping in, and it's always like your limiting beliefs and your thoughts, and it never gets any easier the higher up you get. So she calls it new level, new devil.
Oh, I love that. She's good with her little quotes, isn't she?
She is, yeah. So not only do you coach others and arm people like myself with tools and techniques to help overcome anxiety and destroy limiting beliefs, but you also teach others to become certified life coaches in the Unbreakable Mindset Method Academy. So what's that like? Tell us a bit more about that. And I know you've got a 3-day free transformational live event next week, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, do you know what? So the Unbreakable Mindset Academy came about because I guess what I realised was at the start of this year that everything that I've done with my clients and all of the tools and the techniques and the framework that I use is all stuff that I have developed over the last 9 years. And it wasn't anything that I got from my coaching diploma. Like, my coaching diploma gave me such basic tools. I mean, don't get us wrong, God, it was, you know, the platform I needed to get started. But what it didn't do was give me a framework for my clients. And luckily, while I was working full-time and coaching part-time, it meant I was able to cultivate this beautiful framework that just gets results every single time. And I think the industry out there, you don't necessarily get that with a standard coaching diploma. And what I wanted to do was create something so that any new coaches in the industry, they can get started and literally start transforming lives straight away. Like, that was huge for me. And to get to pass this on to other people, like, I love it. Like, I've got 2 of the students that are already in my academy actually worked with me one-to-one, which is lovely because it's almost like they're repeating the same pattern that I did, that you had coaching and then you become a coach. And what they're doing is, as they're working through the material and all the modules, they're still seeing more transformations in themselves as they're doing the work to become a coach, which is just lush. So so going back to my event next week. So it's a 3-day event. I'll be going live in my Facebook group at 7:30 on the Tuesday, the Wednesday and the Thursday. And I'm going to talk about everything that it is to be an unbreakable mindset coach. I'm going to be sharing some of the secrets of what creates an unbreakable mindset. But I'm also going to be just telling everyone how they can become a coach themselves and how they can start transforming lives. It's going to be amazing. And there's so many people already waiting to get into the Facebook group. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. So yes, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week.
And I'll also put the link to that. So if anyone does want to sign up as well on that, I'll put that in the show notes as well. Because I mean, I've even signed up for it really just so I can like just see how it was going to run and stuff like that. But then also just as a refresher on the tools and techniques, obviously that I've been learning over the last 8 weeks with you as well, because I just think it'll be really beneficial. But you mentioned at the start as well that you also offer a Month to Manifest course on your website too, don't you? And I mean, I'll leave the link to all of this in the show notes below for anyone interested in checking that out as well. And I mean, I'm working through it myself because that was what initially drew me to you, the Month to Manifest course. And there's lots of like useful videos in there and exercises on living your dream life, and there's tips in there. So what was it like launching that and pulling all that together? Did you find that quite stressful, or did you find that quite therapeutic because it's doing something that you love?
Do you know what? It was really easy, and it was something that I wanted to do because there's a lot of manifestation courses out there, and I think the ones that I see, there's so much detail in them, and they are so expensive as well. And what I wanted to do was really simplify the process, because actually the process itself should be simple. It shouldn't be hard. If it's hard, then you're in resistance. And what I wanted to do was pull together the most simple manifestation process. So it's called a Month to Manifest. And what you do, there's 4 modules, so that ideally you would kind of work through a module a week. But to be honest with you could probably binge watch all of it like a good Netflix series and get through it fairly quickly. And the last module is all what to do when it's not working. So there's tons of tips. It's like, it's given everyone all the tools that I've got over the years on how to make it the most easiest process, but also what to do when it's not working. Because I think that was the biggest struggle for me when I first started to learn about manifestation, was thinking, oh my God, but I'm thinking negative. This is going to happen. Oh my God, I'm going to manifest this because I'm thinking negatively. And I wanted to put some tools in there for how you can turn that around. So what to do when it's not working, what to do when you're thinking negative. And it's a really, really simplified, easy to use kind of self-study. So, you know, you can join instantly. You don't have to wait any length of time. If you want to join, you can just sign up straight away and get access to it. So yeah, so it's really, I don't think the process should be hard. It should be as easy as thinking a thought. That's what it should be. And I wanted to make sure it was as easy for that, because God, it's like, yeah. I think we've talked about this before. When you're manifesting and you're on a roll, oh my God, it's just easy. Like, do you know what? I was thinking about you last week and something happened today and I wanted to tell you. So can you remember when you were in resistance and then you were able to flip it round? And within a week, there was like amazing stuff happened. Like Sage had asked you to do a TikTok. And anyway, once you'd removed the resistance, loads of stuff happened.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that about you. And I was thinking, oh, do you know what? I've not manifested anything like from a publicity point of view for a while. And I thought it would be nice if somebody got in touch just for me to do something that was like a publication or going on TV again or something. Oh God, because I've manifested going on TV as well. Like anything that I've done, I've taken no action over. So when they asked us to go on MTV as a coach, they came to me. I didn't do anything. When I've been on ITV News, they came to me. Like I've definitely, and I had that on my board that I wanted to be a well-known coach, and those things kind of came to fruition. And anyway, so I was thinking about that today and I thought, oh God, nobody's been in touch for a while. And then today somebody from The Sun messaged us and asked us to write an article about manifestation for that supplement magazine. So it'll go out like national publication. So
amazing.
I know, I was buzzing about that, and that only happened today.
Congratulations, well done.
Thanks.
See, you just need to put everything on your vision board, don't you?
You do?
See, I just can't believe that you do like all of this while still having a family life with your husband, your 2 children, your little pup. What do you do in your spare time to maintain that positive mindset that you always have whenever I see you?
Do you know what? Again, that comes from the tool sets of having an unbreakable mindset. It's like, things don't happen just because. Like, for me to have a lovely home life and an amazing time at work, like, actually I talk about this on my episode this week, it's like there's processes and systems in place for me to enjoy time with the kids, for me to make sure that I don't drop any of the plates that I'm spinning. Like, it's a strategic thing that I've put in place of like making sure I know what I'm cooking for tea tonight.
Not the Lebanese over the road.
Not the Lebanese over the... Oh, you've listened to the episode. I love that.
I did listen.
So there's things that I put in place so that I wouldn't be positive if I didn't feel in control of my shit. If I'm totally honest and totally blunt about it, like I would feel so out of control and I'd feel overwhelmed. And I know my anxiety would start to kick in. So what I would say is that everything I do is purposeful, but the object and the outcome of that is that I'm content and I'm calm and I'm happy and I enjoy my life. And everything I do, I think about, what can I do that's going to be exciting? What am I going to do that I'm going to enjoy? Like, you know, I'm going to have a load of work to do tonight when I get home, but my mindset doesn't go, oh my God, I've got so much work to do tonight. When I go home, I'm like, oh, do you know what? When I get home, right, so I'll sort the kids' tea out. Nico will go to bed. I think my husband's going to go to the gym. Fia, my daughter, will probably be, I don't know, she's trying to wangle going out tonight with her friends. So she'll be doing something. So I'll have time to do it then. Like, there's just no hassle. I don't get hassled by things. I don't get stressed about things because I'm solution focused. Like, and that just makes for a happier Jude, if I'm honest.
Definitely, it makes for a happier anyone, I think. So what's on your vision board for the foreseeable future then, Jude? What does like the next 5 years hold for you? Where are you going to take the business? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
That's a good question, isn't it? I'm definitely going to include that in my in my podcast. What's on the vision board? Right, okay, so well, my car's still on there because it's not been delivered yet.
Oh, you've only got a month or so to wait. Come on.
2 months. So it's still on there. It won't.
2 months.
Nothing ever gets removed until it's there in my hands.
True.
So yeah, so they're on there. What else is on there? Increasing the academy, that I want to work with more student coaches. That's a big thing for me, because it's such a lovely part of my business, and I'm like, it's something that I'm really excited about and passionate about. So that's a big thing. I want to do more travel. Like, we go to Italy every year, which I'm really blessed to do, because my husband's family are from over there, so we get to go there every year. But I'd quite like to do more kind of like trips and things like that. So yeah, we've got, well, I say trips, the Maldives is on there. So travel's on there. Oh God, you've totally put us on the spot and I'm trying to visualize everything that's on my thing. Oh God, I want to write a book. That's still on there. That's been on there for a long time, writing a book. And it's because I know why it's on there and why I keep leaving it is because I've prioritised other areas of my business. But to be honest with you, I think next year that'll definitely be something that will get completed. Like, I'm halfway there writing it, and I know once I go back over it all, it'll not take as long to complete. So that's definitely on there.
Amazing. I mean, we've spoken about all sorts, haven't we? And I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. And to anyone else that is interested in life coaching, mindset, manifestation, like I say, I'll pop all of Jude's details in the show notes for today's episode. And Jude, just thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking to everyone about mindset and manifestation. I'm sure everyone's just dying to pop over onto your Instagram and your website and have a look for themselves now. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us once again. And I'll see you all next Friday. Have a lush weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Come and join me in the Manifest with Mart community. For just £10 a month, you'll get exclusive access to my app and you'll join all the other beautiful souls in the Canny community, where each day you'll be held accountable to making your dreams and desires come to fruition. You'll also be set daily and weekly challenges. There's a chat room built in so you can talk to people in real time, and you can also pop over any questions that you have in the Q&A forum and I'll answer them for you. It's changing people's lives, and we've already had so many people manifesting things in the first 2 weeks alone. Each new moon, I'll also be going live within the group on a face-to-face video to help you get the most out of the lunar cycles, as well as answer any burning questions that you have. And these live meetups are so powerful, and everyone in the group has had nothing but praise for the safe space that we share. There are very limited spaces for this community, however, just to ensure that I can place my focus on you and nurture you into the ultimate manifester. So if you'd like a spot, please be quick and reserve your seat now. Head to cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk and choose the Manifest with Mart option, where you can get instant access, and what's more, you'll also get access to all of the past recordings and chats too. Join now and start living the life of your dreams.